and welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to this week's episode of Astro Weather. Hopefully you guys are doing well, enjoying your Sunday. Happy Lunar Eclipse Eve. Unless you're on the West Coast, it's going to be tonight. If you guys did not catch the last couple of days, I've made sure I put lots of content out for you. So if you have not already seen it, maybe I will add it into my queue. I'll recommend that video at the end for the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. It is a really intense total lunar eclipse, full moon, and we are wrapping up stuff that we've been working on since fall of 2021. It has been an eclipse window the last 2 weeks since the new moon solar eclipse in Taurus. I don't know about you guys, but the energy has been rather kind of chaotic. I appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of time to get this out today into the later afternoon. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new to my channel, I am a Western evolutionary astrologer. I practice the art of tarot and clairvoyant readings along with interpretation into natal horoscopes and transits to better understand the astrological weather that we are moving through. Mercury retrograde. And Mercury is retrograde in the midst of all of this. So it's just, you know, Sky Daddy just keeps on giving. Right? All right, so do me a favor, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, please do consider giving me a thumbs up or a comment. Let me know how you're feeling with these energies. Let me know where it's hitting you in your particular transits. If you want to have any awesome high vibe comments, I appreciate that too. By liking and interacting with the channel, you're helping the channel grow. It looks like we're gonna hit 5,000 followers this week. Very excited. Thank you guys so much for making that possible. Thank you guys also for joining my donations and making it possible for me to do what I'm doing. By joining my memberships, you make it possible for me to be able to grow the channel, create new content, and bring you guys all of the goodies that I do. All right, so let's go ahead and get into some of the most important transits for the week ahead. I guess big news would be Mars conjuncts Neptune, Sun enters Gemini, and we are still in the midst of these eclipse energies. So the week is going to kind of start off with today, Sunday the 15th. I've touched on it in my last Astro Weather last week. I let you guys know that we're experiencing this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. Big changes, big release points. It's about cleansing, purging, detoxifying, finding a quiet space today and tomorrow to be able to move through some of these energies and release and let go of things that are blocking or hindering us from feeling safe, stable, or secure. There's lots of positive aspects to both rulers of this eclipse. If we look at it from the traditional rulership of Mars, we're looking at the Mars-Neptune conjunction, which on one hand is a little confusing, and we'll talk about that in a second. On the other hand, it's emotional, it's very empathic, and it's allowing us to kind of release and dissolve. So work with water, stay hydrated, take a dip, take a bath, anything that's going to allow you to use the element of water to kind of lubricate and move through that process of just dealing with like emotional blockages. Like, you know, I kind of said this several times throughout the week. It feels like emotional constipation. There's been a lot of people who are kind of realizing that there are these emotions and feelings, trauma, pain bubbling up inside of us that we didn't realize was there. So through this eclipse, we're kind of finding that you know, because it's a total eclipse, you know, usually when we have a full moon, we're able to highlight these issues and they come to light. But when we're dealing with a south node eclipse and a total eclipse, which is involving the moon very close to the south node, the light is not there. It's being eclipsed out. So suddenly there are these really high emotional situations that kind of manifest that bring situations to this climax where we realize like, oh, you know what, I didn't realize I was hiding deep down in there. You know, I didn't have the typical light of the moon that I would see to see it. So stay tuned. We're going to talk more about kind of the week, and kind of we'll do videos throughout the week, checking in, talking about like the full moon hangover. But just know that eclipses are funny things. Obviously they come in pairs. We start feeling them a couple weeks before, but an eclipse can really unfold for several months after the lunation. Now, to each their own when it comes to like rituals and things of that energy, but I would say to you guys that this is like not your stereotypical full moon. We want to be still, we want to be silent, we want to be open, we want to be aware of what emotions come up. I'm not really digging like today and tomorrow for setting intentions. I'm not really digging today and tomorrow for like any real rituals, unless you're looking to like purge, banish, uncross, like that kind of work, fine. But this isn't your warm and fuzzy full moon, both because of the conjunction to the South Node, the moon being in an uncomfortable sign, Scorpio, and also the squares to Saturn. So likely we're going to see throughout the week as this eclipse kind of shakes out that it's a little clunky, there's some delays, there's some uncomfortable changes that we need to make, some sacrifices. It just doesn't really flow with like setting intentions or positive full moon manifestation. So I would say like, let this kind of ease up a little bit. Let's wait maybe until the moon gets either into Cancer or into Taurus in the week or so ahead. At least then when the moon is connecting with signs, that is going to be able to allow us to go closer to the North Node and release some of this stuff. Then we're going to start being able to do some new energetic work. Also today, and this is a part of the eclipse energy, the Sun and Saturn are squaring each other. So the Sun is in Taurus, it's squaring Saturn in Aquarius. It feels like a stop sign. It feels like our energy levels are lower. We're feeling our ego being checked. We're having people criticize us or tell us what we're doing wrong or what's not working. Although this is uncomfortable, what's really interesting is that where Saturn is what's creating that vibe check. That's really what this is. It's a vibe check. And Saturn is squaring the Sun in Taurus. So what you want to look for in your natal horoscope is where Saturn is, okay, and where it's squaring to Taurus. I just did a video yesterday talking about this. I talk about the square, where it's going to manifest. And just know that Saturn, wherever it is in Aquarius in your chart, is holding the vibration of responsibility, commitment, needing to mature, needing to upgrade, rise our vibration, because Aquarius is about vibration. It's about elevation. And it's squaring the Sun in Taurus. So we're seeing these physical actions or reactions, especially because the Sun is in opposition to the moon. So those of you guys who have a fixed Sun, moon, or rising, right? So the Taurus, Leos, Scorpios, Aquarius placements, you guys are feeling this very strongly with the eclipse. So really take a look at where this is happening in your chart. Take a look at my horoscopes. I talk all about this and where these funky energies are kind of setting up, presenting you with some conflict or the need to kind of reconcile and deal with our egos. I think a lot of it is ego driven. I think a lot of it is also realizing that the Sun Saturn presents us with the opportunity to rise to the occasion, to show up and go, okay, this conflict is highlighting some issue. Where do I need to grow? Where do I need to kind of deal with this a little bit better? Sun in Taurus is also in a sextile to Neptune in Pisces, so we are becoming more emotional and aware of the life that we're building. Pisces is the dream team. It's really setting everything up in terms of what we're manifesting, what we're praying for, what we're seeing in our dreams, all of what we hope could be. And it's relaying messages still to Taurus. We're in the tail end of Taurus season right now. Letting Taurus know what the blueprints are for the life that we're building. So we're going to lose some of these sextiles pretty soon when the Sun goes into Gemini. Venus is still in a very strong conjunction to Chiron today. And I talked about this also on the channel in this last week where, Venus is about love and relationships and pleasure and what feels good and what tastes good and who we're married to, who we're dating, and what it means to be open to intimacy and open to relations with people in general. Venus also has energy about values, our money, our food, our resources. But Venus is currently in Aries, so it's in a Mars-based sign, which does create a little bit more conflict. I've said that once Venus enters into Aries, we're going to see this sudden shift where it's going to kind of be more about our own personal values, the self, right, Aries, and where that can create a bit of friction with what we love, what we like, what feels good to us may not always resonate with other people. Now, pretty soon, in a matter of like a week or two, we are going to see Venus ingress into Taurus, and things are going to calm down. Venus loves being in Taurus, and it's going to help us kind of ground out all this energy. But Aries is a cardinal sign, so it's active. So Venus in the house of Mars, instead of having all the flowers and all of the pretty gowns and the birds and the bees and all of that stuff, it's kind of traded all that for, like I said, thigh-high leather boots. And we do see like a much more intense version of Venus where it's harder to please her. There can be more picking fights, which leads to like makeup sex. There can be pulling people's pigtails. You know, that's kind of the guise that we see when Venus is in Aries. But she is currently in conjunction to Chiron, and Chiron's like a beacon for sensitivity. So yesterday, today, tomorrow, you know, this particular conjunction is very much factored into the eclipse energies, where we're realizing that some of the emotions that are coming up are about pain that we're feeling, whether it's emotions that don't feel good or injuries that we're still healing from, especially if you're a Venus-based chart. So if you are somebody who has very strong Taurus or Libra placements or sun, moon, or rising, you're going to feel this today. There's going to be some like bandage issues where we're having to rip off the Band-Aid and kind of really deal with the wound. And what's wonderful is that with Venus coming into conjunction with Chiron, she has the ability to say, this doesn't feel good, you know, I don't like this. This hurts me, and how can we fix it? She's actually going to bandage Chiron. So she's helping heal the wounds. Art therapy is helpful. Good like music, art, being able to write poetry or just participate in things that are going to enhance the senses and really help us heal through that. So I'm actually really liking it, even though it can feel very loud, right? Kind of similar to Jupiter energy. Chiron is going to magnify stuff, and it's going to make it very loud. Now, out in the world, we're seeing this manifest as like an attack on women's rights, that Mars energy of Aries, which is basically saying with the conjunction to Chiron, where women are feeling the pain, right? They're feeling the pain of having to stand up for themselves, Aries. And what they're going through when it comes to their reproductive health, right? That's also Venus. So we're going to see more play out through that. We're going to see more angry kind of feminine archetypes that are going to arise from this, all in the midst of a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So, oh my goodness, guys, today, tomorrow, really into about maybe Wednesday, take it easy on yourselves. If you're somebody who has really prominent Aries placement, sun, moon, or rising, if your north node is conjunct this 14 to 16 degree space, or maybe your Venus is there, you're going to feel this very strongly as well. So I recommend listening to my Venus Chiron video. It can be really helpful, and I can talk to you about ways that you can better address those wounds. All right. So now moving on to the 16th, on Monday, we're going to see the moon in Sag. Nice reprieve, getting that moon out of Scorpio early in the morning. It's going to start building into a trine with Jupiter in Aries. So moon trine Jupiter is like, okay, well, that shit show on Sunday happened. What's the bright side of the situation? So it's kind of seeing like, okay, well, you know, I cleared that thing out. It didn't feel good, but now I have freedom. You guys feel this every year also. When we ingress and move from Scorpio season to Sag, there's this sense of like what we've died off and all of the baggage that we've let go of, and how it allows us to elevate and feel like we have newfound lessons that we can apply, that we can teach other people, new places that we can go. It's like we pick up, we pack our bags, and we catch a flight. So the moon trine Jupiter, I think, is kind of throughout the morning and really into the next day, as the moon starts to trine both Venus and Chiron. We're healing something, and we're optimistic, and we're aware that even though the tower has fallen, there is a grand plan, there is a purpose for it. So I think that that's going to really help us with the full moon hangover on the 16th. Now, on the 17th, we're going to see that Mars in Pisces comes into the conjunction with Neptune in Pisces. So I want to talk a little bit at length about this. Probably going to still do a video about it later in the week. But because this is so tied also to the eclipse, right? Being that Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, which is about passion, cutting, burning. And Mars is the only connection to a water sign. Usually we see Mars connected to Aries. So of all the water signs, Scorpio is like kind of turning the faucet, right? Fully on hot water and like getting into the hot shower. I think of the Mars-Neptune conjunction in a positive sense and really reiterating the need for being aware of what we're fighting for, right? Being warriors for peace, Neptune, being warriors for higher spiritual realms and angelic kind of influences. I like that the Mars-Neptune conjunction is helping us break out of the third dimension, where we live very much in the third dimension with all of these planets in Taurus. I mean, my goodness, North Node in Taurus, Sun in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, Pluto in Capricorn. There's a lot of like Earth trines happening right now. And even Mercury is going to drop back into Taurus. So we're very fixated on our things, our money, our food, our bodies, our Earth, our planet. And I like that the Mars-Neptune is shaking things up and it's reminding us as above, so below. So it's really about the life that we are envisioning. It's about what we're praying for, what we're believing in, what we're seeing in our dreams. It's really reiterating that we need to consciously have a relationship with the higher vibrational realms. We need to be talking to our guides, working with them. We need to be doing shamanic work. We need to be dancing and doing like ritual cleanses and things that are going to kind of shake stuff out that we weren't aware was kind of hovering around. Keep in mind, this is also 11 signs away from Taurus. So it represents the realm of our dreams, our hopes. It's blowing out candles on our birthday cake. It's focusing on what our goals are when it comes to our friends, our associations, our networks. So it's very strong in a manifestational sense. And like I've said in previous videos this year, the Pisces energy is very much you have to believe it before you see it. So don't underestimate the energies this week with the Mars-Neptune conjunction saying, really get into the action of doing your spiritual warfare, right? If that's being good with your grounding energy, with your prayers, with your protection energy, for calling in your guardian angels, for calling in Saint Michael, for anything that's going to be about connecting that healing energy of Pisces, but that warrior energy of Mars. I think of like the sacred flame of Saint Germain. I think of anything that's going to be about shields or anything relating to protecting water, protecting the ocean, calling on ocean deities. There's something going on in the ethers, right? There's a war going on in the ethers, and there are things, there's like storms that are setting up that has not come to this dimension yet. So what are we fighting for, right? Are we fighting off spiritual forces? Is there like a religious or a spiritual war going on, right? I've thought about this a lot recently. Like I'm kind of like an ex, like, I'm not super religious, but I feel like if I had to align with anything, my background is definitely more so in like organized religion, whether it's like Christianity, Catholicism, whatever. And I realized I liked that because I liked the ritual of church. I know that sounds terrible, but I like the ritual side of it. I like the incense. I like the offerings. I like the scripture. I like the hymns. I like that. But it's inherently, in my opinion, very pagan. And it's all that connection to the elements and the symbolic sense of the offerings that we're making to a higher power, right? So I've kind of gone back and forth thinking about that a lot. I've got Saturn conjunct Neptune in my chart. And I've been thinking in this last week or two, I'm like, what's going on up there, right? Like, is somebody up there just like fucking playing dominoes with everybody? Like, are all these mortals just kind of at the mercy of the gods right now? Is there a wager between, God and the devil? Is there something going on where they're just trying to see who's gonna be on whose side? I mean, I know this sounds like some Constantine stuff, but that's what I've been thinking about. And the more that I think about it, I'm realizing it's not so much that, it's more that we're being given the opportunity to override fear and really put our faith to the test. This is about faith. It doesn't matter the religion, it doesn't matter the color, the scripture, the language. I don't care about that stuff. In my opinion, it's all the same thing. It's all preaching the same thing. If you want to believe in this flying spaghetti monster, so be it. I'm gonna get so much like hate speech for this religious stuff. I'm sorry. But when we're talking about Pisces, we're talking about these churches, these temples, these altars, these spaces that we go and we actually use energetically to be vessels for the Holy Spirit or divine energy. So what are you praying to? What are you giving energy to right now, right? Are you making way for fear and paranoia and worst case scenario? Or are you making the conscious decision to dissolve all of that, regardless of what we're seeing in the third dimension right now, and routinely bringing yourself back to faith, however that may be? If that is, you praying to a deity, if that's you going to church, if that's you focusing on just having a better connection with your higher self, I want you guys to be aware of what you're giving energy to, because it's sending ricochet energy to the Taurus planets right now saying like, okay, you were thinking about that? Here it is. On the flip side, it's like you can believe things to be true. You can believe things into existence right now. And it's like, we're going to have it for a very short period of time. So I want you guys to be mindful of what you're thinking about, be visualizing, meditating, doing things where you're building up your spiritual courage, fighting for things on a spiritual level. You guys might be having some really wild dreams. I've heard lots of stories from clients about like literally going through war scenarios and like all kinds of like weird past life stuff. People who were doing past life regression, realizing that they had all this trauma from their past lives that they need to kind of heal and realize that they need to let go of. And just be building in a sense of your spiritual mission, right? Very Mars, Neptune. Now, traditionally, when we see Mars conjunct Neptune, we become very passionate and romantic as well, because Mars has this energy that's about passion. So it can be whimsical. It can be giving us the opportunity to feel like we need to kind of lie low and have like more bedtime pleasures. It can be wonderful for mixing and painting. It can be really great also for chanting or anything that's about actually moving some of these energies throughout our physical body. And we're going to be working with heat, obviously, with Mars, and then water with Neptune. So spas, saunas, soaking, steaming, all of these things. I'm like trying to get in the habit of like hot water and herbs in the morning. That's something that I've been trying to do this week, and it makes me feel better. And I have found that hydration seems to be the key with some of these aspects that we're seeing in Pisces. Now we're getting to the later degrees of Pisces. So, eventually here pretty soon, Mars is actually going to cross into Aries, and we're going to lose this energy of being able to do all of this work on the astral plane. Now, for those of us who are interested in like shamanic work or soul retrieval work or anything in regards to like shamanic drumming or shamanic initiations, this is wonderful, wonderful energy for that as well. All right, so I want to read to you guys the Sabian symbol for 25 degrees of Pisces. And, I was noticing, like I always tell you guys, I round up. So this is both at 24 and change. But if we move to the next day, Mars and Neptune move together to 25 degrees. Interesting. So it goes from like a very Piscean degree, right, 24 to 25. So there's going to be... You're going to feel the shift, actually, the 17th, 18th, 19th, from being like, okay, what's an illusion? What am I dreaming about? What's kind of hidden? What's secretive? And then boom, something's going to happen. There's going to be an energetic shift that's going to happen on the 18th. So I would like to read 25. We can read 26 as well. Once again, this is my handy dandy book, my Sabian symbol book. If you're interested in like the books that I use on my channel, you can check out the Amazon link below. I update it regularly. So if I'm using a book and reading from it, and if it's something that you're interested in, you can get a link to it. All right, so 25 degrees of Pisces, the purging of priesthood. The keyword is reformation or purification. The symbol speaks to the ingenuity and to the consequences of violating a sacred trust. Okay. The images of purging the priesthood and often refers to holding individuals in high places to equally high standards, and to the fact that those who set standards for others will also be judged by them. Man finds hope and inspiration for his own ongoing in those who he lives in his ideals, and he will not abide by betrayal. On a practical level, the symbol speaks to the separation of separating the wheat from the chaff, or weeding out whatever has lost its value of usefulness. Positive at its highest, the symbol represents high standards, ethical behavior, rejection of hypocrisy and pretense. The negative would be prejudice, bigotry, or retaliation or vindictiveness. So it's about integrity, right? That's really what this is about. It's about integrity. And it's about how we judge other people, but like not being the pot that calls the kettle black, right? That's really what this is about. The accent is on dismissal. Higher authorities could be removed from office or exposed from wrongdoing. Your greatest advantage lies in getting rid of things in your life that no longer serves any purpose. Be willing to release and let go. It's time for a good house cleaning. Guard against trying to destroy what you don't understand. Avoid making accusations that have no proven basis in fact. Purging, purification. These are big words that we use when we see an eclipse in Scorpio, right? Especially a lunar eclipse in Scorpio. I think that this is also really talking about, I have to be PG when I say this, there will probably be people in the world in higher order or who serve in some political sense or on boards or things that are associated with like the church or religious organizations, or even medical professionals who will be dismissed. That's what I'm guessing is going to happen because of the eclipse, because it's making the aspect. Also, this is sextiling Pluto. So in the days following, okay, we may find out after it has happened. I believe that this is going to be pretty private. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to happen immediately. So when we think of Pisces being ruled by Neptune, Neptune can deal with therapists, doctors, people who have spoken about global health, viruses, the V word, right? All of these things are going to start to kind of shake out. And I think it's going to take a little bit of time, maybe perhaps until Mars comes into conjunction with Jupiter. I have said for a long time that the Mars-Jupiter conjunction is going to be an individual uprising where people are going to get pissed off and they're going to be like, what? What happened? What are you telling me? And people are going to start responding and reacting to what has been going on and hidden behind the scenes. So because Mars is still behind Jupiter, people don't have the information yet. They don't have the reason to react yet. They don't have the reason to organize. They don't have the reason to protest. We don't know until that conjunction happens. But know that the purification is not purely going to be in our own personal lives. This is in the late degrees of Pisces. This is going to be a global purge. This is going to be a purge of people within the state or federal government, within the church, within higher levels or ranks out there who are being dismissed silently because they don't want an uprising. That's what's going to happen. Oh boy, the energy for the rest of the year is like so different than the first 5 months. I kept saying to you guys, I'm like, we're going to have to wait until about May, maybe June before 2022 is going to start. This is like when the plot twist starts to begin. Thankfully, with the trines to the South Node, we're clearing it out, right? We're clearing it out, but it's going to make people very emotional as we go through some of these things that are kind of dissolving. I think we're going to catch some of the stuff. I don't think it's going to be something that happens behind the scenes to the point that we don't find out. I just don't think we're going to find out until that Mars ingress happens. All right, so we'll talk more about the Mars-Neptune conjunction. If you guys stay tuned to the end of this video, I'm also going to pull some cards. I'm going to be working with the Star Child Tarot. I like this deck for when I'm working with Pisces energy. I think it's really dreamy and Neptunian and whimsical. So I'll be pulling cards for all of the 12 signs, talking to you guys about where the Mars-Neptune conjunction is happening and giving you a little bit of insight with that card. Now on the 18th, we're going to see, we're on the 18th. On the 18th, we're going to see the moon move into Capricorn. One of the quieter days, in my opinion. This is when we start to kind of come off of that full moon hangover and things begin to kind of calm down a little bit. Moon in Capricorn is going to be felt because it's definitely going to be this energetic shift. It's going to be louder than usual though, because it's going to be making a square to Jupiter. So we get active when we see squares that are happening in the cardinal signs. So, I mean, you just might notice that there's like this tug of will with our personal expansion and our responsibility and things that we need to be working on with that moon in Capricorn. But that's when things are going to calm down right around hump day. Now, Thursday the 19th, we're going to see the sun in Taurus come into a trine with both the moon and Pluto in Capricorn. I'm liking this energy, guys. I'm liking the tail end of Capricorn, the tail end of Taurus season. It's super stable. We're also receiving that trine from Mercury as Mercury is turning retrograde. I'm digging the 18th, excuse me, I'm digging the 19th going into the 20th because we're seeing these Earth trines. We're also seeing the sextiles to the South Node. We're seeing the sextiles to Neptune and Mars. I'm really feeling like this is a very active day. So we're going to get a lot of work done. There's also going to be an opportunity on the 19th for there possibly to be some good news. You know, Mercury's retrograding in Gemini, coming back into a sextile with Jupiter and Aries. So there's more good news on tap. It's coming back to us. Maybe we're finding out more of the details. So if you're looking for a day to be able to like start making sense of things, kind of rebuilding, getting some work done, strategizing, seeing physical shifts, you want to save that for Thursday. Great day for meetings, great day for business stuff, anything in relation to also kind of getting finances under control. You're going to really see things kind of stabilize and solidify that day. Now it's the 20th that is going to be a cool day. We're watching that sun that's been in a trine to Pluto get ready to move into Gemini. So we're going to start Gemini season actually on the 20th. So to my May Geminis, happy birthday. I hope it's a good one for you guys. And as the sun enters Gemini, we move out of like the very fixed Taurus energy. We move into, you know, mutable air. So we're buzzing, we're busy, there's phone calls, we're moving around. And on this day, we're getting ready to start seeing the sun coming into conjunction with Mercury. Now, when this conjunction happens, it's not technically going to be happening until the 21st, but having the sun so close to Mercury, which is the ruler of Gemini, is just information overload. Now, when this conjunction happens, I'm going to show you guys. It's actually going to be on the 21st, I believe. There we go. So it'll start to happen. I take that back in the evening hours on the West Coast on the 20th, but it'll go into the 21st. But when the actual Sun Mercury conjunction takes place, it'll be at 0 degrees of Gemini. So that'll be on the 21st. And we call this a cazimi. When Mercury is in the heart of the sun, it is considered the midway point in the Mercury retrograde. So everybody who's been running around like a chicken with their head cut off, like, Mercury retrograde, we're halfway through. This is where the meat is, because when we have the Sun Mercury retrograde, not many people realize, you know, Mercury's never more than about 2 or 3 signs away from the sun. It's always close. This is the marker of the midway point, right? So we start to kind of realize, what's the purpose of the Mercury retrograde? What are we having to go back and think about? What are we tweaking, reworking? What are we exchanging? Mercury likes to kind of like throw all of the chips up in the air and see where everything falls and then reorganize it and restructure it. It likes to open up the hood of the car and figure out what's wrong with, you know, all of the different moving pieces and take it apart and clean it up and put it back together and then make sure that it's working soundly. So I've heard a lot of, had a lot of messages, DMs, a lot of comments, people being like, oh, this Mercury retrograde is so terrible. First of all, we have 3 of them, sometimes 4 a year for good reason. We got to clean out the gunk, right? Mercury is the only, you know, planet that has the ability to go to both heaven and hell. So he's the messenger. He's relaying messages from the heavens, from the gods, bringing it back down, letting us know, and also going underneath. So the whole process of the Mercury retrograde is literally about Mercury going underneath, getting all the information, getting the scoop, getting, finding out who made the leaks, finding out what's wrong with the plumbing, finding out what we missed, what text message, email we overlooked, what's wrong with the car's battery, whatever. That's what's happening right now. And while, you know, Mercury retrogrades I feel like are pretty common because we experience these retrogrades more than any other planetary retrograde, we feel it more because it's close to the sun. This one's a significant one. This one's with the cazimi at 0 degrees, which is the purest form of Gemini energy, right? And it's also going to be trining Pluto, deep thought-provoking conversations, going to the depths of our psyche, finding out things we didn't know before, things that are important because it moves into the Taurus mansion. It's going to help us restructure things in a more sound way. And it's also going to be activating the eclipse points. So like, I'm very thankful for this retrograde. I'm realizing that it's happening for good reason. We want to work with the trines, and a conjunction is a very, very, very powerful transit. It's the merging of two planets. Now, usually when the sun is within 10 degrees of Mercury, it's under the beams of the sun. So it can get burnt out. Kind of reminds me of like Icarus when, he flew too close to the sky and then, he melted. Or I think it was his wings that melted. But the cazimi is something that is actually seen as positive, and it's kind of overlooking the traditional rule of that and kind of going like, okay, give me the message. So I'm personally waiting for this transit. It might be on the evening of the 20th. It might be on the daytime of the 21st. That will be a message that's important. We need it. We need to be aware of it. We need to integrate it. You might find something that's missing. You might be waiting to kind of find out, did I get the job? Am I going to get the loan? Is the lease going to be approved? And this might be the day that things actually move forward. Now, wait also until Mercury is direct, obviously. We come out of the shadow sometimes around I think, June 6th or 7th, but life goes on. We can't just stop doing what we're doing. So if you're in a bind, likely you might find that, especially if you have a deadline for whatever reason at the end of May, some kind of really important information is coming sometime this week between, like, let's say the 21st and maybe like the 25th, that's going to help you better make a decision, and it's going to start kind of clearing out where we've been blocked, where almost like the noise has been turned up so loud that we couldn't accurately understand the information. So Mercury, when he's retrograde, he works in a very kind of weird and wonky way. It's obviously now Gemini season, so we're in the element of air. I always tell clients we want to work with the elements related to that retrograde. So like, bust out your orange candles, be lighting incense that's associated with Mercury, maybe lavender. You can also put fresh rosemary to help kind of keep your senses connected and retaining information, or any herb that you like that's associated with Mercury. But work with air and fire. So sage can be wonderful, burning lavender can be wonderful as well, just in kind of helping kind of keep the communication, the lines of communication clear. And if you must sign a contract, if you must, buy a brand new phone or laptop or anything like that, get the protection plan. Just cover your butt, make sure you save your receipt, anything like that. Read the fine print, and in general, you should be fine. But because this is so tied to Gemini things like leases, moving, cars, electronics, gadgets, I would wait till after the cazimi if you absolutely must. Now, if you want to exchange something, if you want to go back to something, if you want to edit something, if you're going back and forth on a contract, a lot of people have said to me like, oh, I can't sign anything because it's Mercury retrograde. I would say use the retrograde to edit. Use the retrograde to go back and forth if you're having to find an agreement, if you're having to make tweaks to a legal document, if you're returning to school, if you're returning to a place that you used to live. That is the retrograde. So I'm actually a big fan of this one. For the very first time in a long time, I'm praising this energy. Please be good to me, Mercury. Please. All right, so let's take a look now at the 22nd. Here we go. And there we go. And this is the last day of the week that we're going to be covering. This is Mercury's retrograde back into the sign of Taurus. Now, we're going to see this later in the day. You're going to feel that shift, though, because it's right after the cazimi, and then Mercury is going to drop in, and it's going to start trining on the night of the 22nd, coming back into a trine with Pluto. Now, I'll talk about this more in this next week, but boy, it's activating eclipses. It's going to make an opposition to this eclipse that we're having today in Scorpio by degree. It's also going to be highlighting the eclipse that we had in Taurus last fall. And it's going to come back into its fun square with Saturn, which is Saturn's way of saying, like, make it right, correct it, perfect it. This is the real reason why I have said to everybody, we really benefit by making bigger decisions after the shadow. I would rather Mercury come out of the square with Saturn because that is going to represent delays and the need to kind of go deeper. And if you need to make any big decisions, we want to see what that Mercury-Saturn is going to actually present with that square, and why it actually benefits us to wait a little bit, get all of our information, get our facts straight before we make any moves. So just consider that. All right, so now we're going to get into talking about where the Mars-Neptune conjunction is going to be happening, so you're aware of either what you're dissolving, what you're fighting for, what you're leaning into in terms of your intuition, and I would just say ride the wave, because this is about going with the flow. Mars is about movement, Pisces is about intuition. We can get confused with this transit. We can feel lower energy levels. We can not be sure what we're fighting for. Everybody's a little testy and emotional, so I would just say take a look at where this is happening in your chart. Now, you can cast your natal horoscope if you go onto the internet and you do a Google search for a birth chart calculator. Now, you need to put in the time, date, year, and exact city of your birth. It's going to cast a chart. And you want to look at it from the 9 o'clock hour forward. Okay, so when you look at the chart, it actually goes counterclockwise. And your 9 o'clock hour is going to be your ascendant. Now, you can look at your sun sign. Certainly, a lot of my predictions can apply to your sun sign, but I like to do astrology for real life. I want to tell you guys what's actually going to happen. I've had tons of comments. People are like, how do you make these predictions? Are you Vedic? What are you doing? Are you whole sign? Here's the simple answer. I make predictions based off the ascendant, okay? These are gonna be whole sign Western tropical astrology predictions. However, I use Vedic technique, so it's gonna kind of resonate with what we're seeing with some of those predictions. I also work with house cusps and they're rulers of the houses based off of whole sign. Now, you might like Placidus. I know I do. When I do my one-on-one readings, I do Placidus and whole sign. But if you're somebody who's kind of in between and you're like, well, it could relate to this, it could relate to that, look at both. You might see a merger of the two. Likely whole sign is going to talk a lot about physically what manifests, while Placidus talks about the psychological connection. If all of this sounds like Latin to you, click on my link below. You can book a session with me. I'm happy to talk to you all about your astrology, or you can head over to my website and you can also sign up for my newsletter because I teach astrology and I'm going to be teaching some new courses soon. Now, I just wrapped my Astrology 101 course. It's going to be for sale on my website later this summer, so if you missed that, no worries. I'm going to present you guys with 7 lectures. That's going to be all about the introduction to Western astrology, how I do readings, and it's going to have homework and all kinds of stuff. So if you missed it, don't worry, stay tuned, sign up for my newsletter. You'll know when it's going on sale. And do consider signing up for my newsletter if you want to learn my tarot, when my tarot courses are going live. Those are going to be happening later this summer as well. I won't spam you, promise. You're only going to get emails about when I have courses. All right. Thank you for letting me plug that shamelessly. So listen for your rising sign is what I would recommend. And then you can also listen for your sun sign. I'm going to tell you about where this conjunction is happening by house. The house is going to be where in your life it's manifesting and where it's taking place. Then I'm going to talk about which houses Mars rule so we can kind of play astrological detective and get an idea of what the themes are in terms of what's happening with this conjunction. Remember also that when conjunctions are happening in the late degrees of Pisces, it can be things that are manifesting and haven't come into full fruition yet. It can also be things that are hidden in their inner subconscious. It can also be things that we're releasing and dissolving and letting go, right? I kind of think of like sand that seeps through your fingers at the beach, or when you put salt in your hand and then you run it under water, it's going to kind of dissolve, right? That's the energy of Pisces. So we're having to open up and possibly deal with areas in our life that we didn't realize we had repressed anger or frustration, or these like silent battles maybe that we're kind of fighting that it's time to let go. All right, so let's go ahead and begin with Aries and Aries rising. This is important, Aries, because this is involving your chart ruler, Mars. Now, this is taking place in your 12th house. So you've got Mars and Neptune meeting in your 12th house. Now, natally, Mars rules obviously your sign, so your body, your fight, your courage, your energy, your charisma. And it also rules your 8th house, which is other people, other people's resources, things that might be hidden from you. It can also deal with unexpected endings that are coming about with you and other people. The 8th house is like where we have karmic contracts. It's like where we owe somebody something or somebody owes us something, depending on the aspects and the sign and the placements. So I'm wondering, like, is there something happening where you're making the decision to detox something or someone out of your system? Is it kind of the end of a chapter of a karmic agreement? Is there something going on where somebody suddenly says, I'm sorry, I can't bankroll this anymore, I can't pay for this anymore, you know, I can't continue to keep paying the spousal support, the child support, I can't keep giving you the monthly income? Or is it a situation where you are making the conscious decision to start healing and purging and letting go of your fears? Is there this profound kind of spiritual quest that's going on? Are your dreams very active? Is there a possibility or an opportunity for you to be having a little bit more sexy time behind the scenes? There can definitely be a sense of that happening as well. But having Neptune being in the mix, which traditionally rules your 12th house, I would say, watch out for like exchange of money, scams, money scams, you know, people who are like, send me this money and I'll send you crypto or whatever. You know, that's what you want to watch out for, especially if you're doing business behind the scenes. I would say be careful with like any like scams. That can be something else that can kind of happen as well. Make sure you're not like doing anything that's beneath the radar when it comes to taxes or exchanges, because that could be something that could also get you in some hot water. But I'm just wondering if you're just feeling a little out of your body, right? And you're just needing a little bit more rest and recuperation. Thankfully, Jupiter's in your sign, so it's helping you kind of like feel the burn, and you're feeling very optimistic, but you're waiting for this Mars energy to catch back up into Aries. So let's see what the cards have to say for you. Ooh, these are slick. Haven't used these in a hot minute. Okay, here we go. Justice is the card that you get, which is interesting because this is like very Venus energy. It's very 7th house energy, which is in your sign. So I'm wondering if there's something going on where you're like, I just need some time. I need to restore the balance. I'm feeling like a little out of whack. I'm feeling like a little under the weather. I'm not feeling like I'm getting enough in return. I'm wanting to restore order, restore the balance. Justice is a card that also deals with like karmic law. So it's saying like if something's meant to end, if something's going to come to a close, if something needs to kind of finish up, if somebody owes you something, if somebody's supposed to show up and, you know, pay something back energetically, karmically, financially, that's going to get balanced out. But karma and justice is at play here. So it is also talking about relationships, and it's talking about your 7th house, and your 7th house lord, Venus, is crossing and it's in your sign right now. So I'm having this feeling that you're just kind of like feeling like you need to take a step back because you're feeling like something's out of whack. By the same token, justice is saying justice will be served, or there can be a sense of somebody coming in and restoring the balance. So it can be as simple as like going and seeing a chiropractor, getting an adjustment. It can also be anything in relation to the lower back or the kidneys, or balancing out like levels specifically in your body, okay? Hopefully you're doing well with that, Aries. Let me know. Taurus and Taurus rising, you've got this Mars-Neptune conjunction happening in your natal 11th house. Taurus, do you want to party? What's going on? There can be a sense, because Mars rules your natal 12th and also your natal 7th house, that you're kind of feeling like really probably like you want to get out there, you want to socialize. Maybe there can be this feeling of like friends being a little bit more evasive. You're wondering where they are. This is very strongly tied to your 7th house, because Scorpio is your 7th house of partners, and also Aries, which is your 12th house. So I'm kind of like wondering, excuse me, hello, Aries, which is your 12th house. Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm visual. So what's going on here? What are you, what goals are you afraid of expressing with a partner? What goals are you hoping to kind of celebrate with like-minded friends? Is your partner going through some issues with their friendship? Are they talking to you about their goals and it's kind of like blindsiding you and coming out of the blue? I think for the most part, you might be wrapping up some issues with friendships, or you're wrapping up some old goals and you're realizing it's time to kind of like renew. You could be socializing and mixing with people who are more of a spiritual nature. That's something else that could be happening as well. So you could be like meeting people who are very culturally diverse, or they're into like mysticism or meditation or astrology or occultism. You can be finding that there's like a new belief system, and you're like meeting up with new people that are a part of this new belief system and developing new relationships with them because of this. For the most part, though, I think it's nice. You know, you've got Jupiter that is hanging out in your natal 12th house. And I think that for a lot of Taurus and Taurus risings, this makes you guys kind of moody. There can be like really strong moods that are coming in. And I think that you're looking for a group or an association or people who can kind of help you balance some of these energies and like find a new belief system. That's the feeling that I'm getting here. Meditation can become your best friend. The king of crystals. So this is the king of coins. This is you, Taurus. So this is talking about abundance. This is talking about stability, health, wellness, feeling solid, right? If you haven't been feeling solid with your friend group, you're letting some people go. You're not going to chase them. You're not going to kind of ask them, you know, where they've been or what's happening. This is about you feeling solid within yourself. This is also possibly about another earth sign coming in who can bring you some kind of stability or security. So it could be another Taurus, could be a Virgo, could be a Capricorn. And I have a feeling this is more for you though. I think this is about you being like, I'm good. I need a very small circle, but I want high quality people in my life. I want people who are bringing me stability and they're helping me kind of strategize where I'm going, how I'm feeling, what I'm doing with my career. And they're helping you build toward that and celebrating some of your professional goals, right? Your personal goals as well. For Gemini and Gemini rising, this Mars-Neptune conjunction is happening in your natal 10th house of career. Now, I guess I should say, because you're a mutable sign, all of the mutable signs are going to feel this strongly, especially if you're a mutable rising. So listen up, Gemini, Virgo, Sag, and Pisces, especially if you have any placements between about 23 and like, let's say 27 degrees of the mutable signs or Pisces, you're going to definitely feel this. You're going to feel that the tide is turning, something's changing, something's dissolving, because it will square all of your different aspects. All right, so for you, Gemini, it's happening in your 10th house. So Neptune rules your 10th house. Mars is moving in. Mars is traditionally the ruler of both your 11th house of goals and your 6th house of coworkers, health, and friends. I'm wondering on one hand if this is like building the dream team, right? Like, are you calling in your best people to come and work with you? Are you finding that it's really easy to find assistance and help from coworkers, from friends, to go and kind of build this ideal work zone, right? Jupiter has been there recently for you. I know it just moved, but it makes me feel like you're either making friends with people at work, or there is a sense of kind of feeling like you're really building this career that feels like it's very dreamy and it's very intuitive the way that you navigate this. The thing is that Mars-Neptune can also dissolve things, okay? So there can be this dissolving that's going on right now where if you haven't been in your life's purpose, if you haven't been doing the work that you feel aligned with, if you haven't been in your calling, you can be like wiping things out. There's like a purification. I wonder if this is going to be about somebody at work stepping down. I wonder if it's going to be a situation where there's like reorganizing titles and stuff at work. I wonder if it's a sense of you feeling like you need to take a sabbatical from work and you're like, I need to go and like figure out, you know, why I'm here and what I'm doing, and like I need to go and like figure out my purpose. Any of these things can happen. The good news is that it does indicate that you're going to have like-minded friends who are going through the same thing, who might support you or give you guidance. It also makes me feel like, because it is involving the ruler of your 6th house, it's about clearing bad habits, clearing your schedule, getting a hold of certain issues. So it can also deal with like health problems or addictions of sorts. So there can be a sense of like needing to take time off of work to get sober, needing to take time off of work to heal something. And like through that process of going through that, you find out who your real friends are because people show up and they help you. And then maybe you realize like, okay, with this time that I've had to go through this kind of checkout, now I know what life is all about. Now I know what I'm here to do. So let's take a look. Let's see what is happening for you. I want this one. Okay, 7 of coins. So to me, this is also very much about like not living a work life that gets you out of balance, right? Like not overworking to the point where you're not getting adequate sleep, or that you're not eating well, or that you're chain smoking, like whatever. But 7 of coins is basically talking about laying the seeds, like planting the seeds and like waiting for your crops to come in. So to me, it's like a turning point right now also, where you're like, this is what I've been working on for the last, 6-7 months or 6-7 weeks, and what's coming. And like, I'm really hoping that my dreams are going to come true, and that, if I follow the vision for what my career is supposed to look like, that it's going to pan out. This is about taking your time. This is also about not putting all of your eggs in one basket. So it's reminding you that while you're focusing on planting seeds that are going to yield a really healthy, crop, spreading it around, right? Because there is a sense of you getting a little nervous about being like, ooh, is this going to pan out? I'm putting everything into this, Take your time. 7 of Coins is also saying that it's about really reflecting and like really focusing and like getting something done. Can be kind of challenging. With the energies are very mixed when Mars is conjunct Neptune. Everything is kind of scattered, and it can almost feel like there's all of these different rays of energy going in different directions at one time. So try to stay focused, put on your tunnel goggles, and keep looking ahead. All right, so we've got Cancer and Cancer rising. Mars and Neptune are meeting up. It's a trine to your sign, okay, both for you and Scorpio. Which is going to be emotional. So these water trines are emotional. They're clearing, they're purging. Now, it's happening in your 9th house. So 9th house deals with faraway travel. It deals with longer distance moves, legal stuff, publishing, your belief systems, gurus, higher education. Now, Mars in your chart rules both your 10th house of career and also your 5th house, which deals with lovers, children, creative projects. I'm wondering if something's going on where you're suddenly on like a quest where you're like, I have to go to this place. I need to go somewhere, and I need to go and have a renewal of faith. I need to travel to a distant land that I've never been to before. I feel very in alignment with that. It can also be about you going to school, starting a program, starting a mystery school. It can be about you realizing the bigger purpose in life, right? When it comes to your career, because Mars rules your 10th house, but also parenting, because Mars rules your 5th. Are you traveling with children? Are you thinking about moving away and going on a romantic trip maybe to kind of figure out, where do we want to land? What do we like? Like, where are we going? There can be a huge shift in your beliefs, though. There can be a sense of also going on a trip that's to be able to pursue a personal project. So maybe you're like, look, I need to go to the city. I need to go and interview these people. I'm going to make a documentary. Maybe it's going to be about you going back to school so you can learn more about pursuing new career endeavors and how to better kind of support your creative energies. But it's very emotional. So you're going to be feeling very emotional about wherever you're going. Maybe you just need to get out of town for a couple days. You go somewhere and you have like an emotional purge. You heal the heart in some way and you feel like you're more in charge. It's kind of the feeling that I'm getting. I get the 9 of Cups, so that's a good card. I was kind of like, this is a good card. This is a card that's about a wish coming true. This is a card that's about getting everything you want. 9 of Cups, traditionally you see the guy and he's like grinning and he's got all these cups in front of him because he's like, look what I got. It's a card that's about everything coming to fruition. It can be about overindulging. So there can be a sense of like going on vacation and drinking all the drinks, eating all the cake. But I think it's more about you being like, okay, I believed in this and now it's all coming together. So it's this renewal of faith, I think, but probably faith in yourself, right? And the fact that you followed the glory plan and it actually ended up panning out and it's what you asked for and it worked out because you believed in yourself. All right, so now we've got Leo and Leo rising. This is a Mars-Neptune conjunction happening in your 8th house. Sexy. So Mars traditionally rules your 9th house and also your 4th. And I have this feeling that, number one, you could be traveling. Like, I know it's happening in your 8th house, but it rules your 9th. So I'm wondering, are you traveling to places and feeling like there's this profound shift in you? Being that Mars also rules your 4th, I'm wondering, like, is there a legal situation or is there some drama with family in regards to changes within the home? Estate issues, buying houses, covering expenses, things like that. And are you waiting for something to get paid out so that way you can move or you can move back home or you can relocate? Now, the 8th house is a very sexy house. Mars doesn't mind being there. With the conjunction to Neptune, be very careful with toxins, okay? Substances, spiked drinks if you go to a bar. Be very careful with sexual diseases, okay? Because you could go out of town, you have a good time, you have a couple drinks, you sleep with somebody, and then you realize like, oh my God, I haven't been feeling well, and there can be some shocking things that can happen in regards to your sexual health. But it's not even just so much about what you could potentially contract sexually. It's more about like the energy that you get from somebody else sexually, right? What you're absorbing from somebody else. And maybe this is kind of sending you on a path of like wanting to learn more about Tantra, Kundalini, the actual energy exchange, how to better purify and detoxify your boundaries, detoxify your body and where you have absorbed things because of lack of boundaries. That's the feeling that I'm getting. I also wonder, just be very careful with your spending, because Mars Neptune makes me feel like there can be like scams going on. Like I've had a couple Leo and Cancer rising people tell me that they've got calls on their credit cards recently, and people are calling from other countries being like, there's somebody bought something on your Amazon, give me your credit card, and it's a total scam. There's a lot of this going on for both Leo and Cancer rising, so be careful. And I would just advise you, if you are traveling, just make sure that you don't lose any belongings. Everything's on you. And if you're going and traveling and visiting places because you're thinking about moving, really pay attention to the shift that you're having when you're in another place. Some of you guys are going through relationship issues, and you're feeling like, you know what, you just need to get away, and just having some alone time can be just what the doctor ordered to kind of go through that energetic clearing. All right. The card that I got for you is the Wheel of Fortune. Very much Jupiter. Jupiter's in your 9th. So I actually think this is about traveling. I think this is about things shaping up and going in your favor. I do believe this is also possibly going to be about you realizing that whatever issues you've been hitting, whatever walls, hurdles you've been climbing, that it's because like you're getting ready to start a new cycle. And I think with like Jupiter trine your placements in Leo, and also Venus being in Aries, it's really kind of like lighting a fire in you that's making you realize that you need to get out and see the world, that you need to go out and do things, that you need, even if it's on your own, to go and have adventure and have experiences, and you're learning to be more optimistic about what the future holds. So very positive for you, Leo. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you've got a Mars-Neptune conjunction in your 7th house. The question is somebody going to show up and be your savior, or are they going to ghost you? That's something you want to watch out for, Virgo. So Mars rules your natal 8th house of sex and intimacy and other people's money. And it also rules your 3rd house, which is about vehicles, communication, moving, anything in relation to contracts, agreements. Virgo, what is going on? Are you going back and forth talking to a partner about going on a trip together? Are you going back and forth talking to a partner possibly about moving? Is there a need to sit down and have a really intimate conversation with somebody about what the future holds? I know Jupiter's in your 8th house. It's really highlighting this theme of what it means to actually hold yourself accountable, and be open to new levels of relationship and merger and intimacy. I think the Mars-Neptune can feel very romantic, but it can also feel very confusing. I've seen a lot of Virgo risings who have told me, oh, my partner's like out of their mind, they're nowhere to be found, they're dealing with a health issue, they're dealing with a drug problem. One minute they're there, the next minute they don't call me for a week. That can be some energies that come about because of the Mars-Neptune conjunction. And I would say watch out for people not being honest. Because Mars rules both your 8th and your 3rd house, what are they not being honest about? Are they not being honest about money, spending, sexual partners? Are they afraid? Do they come and go? Remember, this Pisces energy is like fish. And Pisces energy is, because it's a double-bodied sign, it swims in two opposite directions. And if you were to like look at fish in water, they get scared away very easily. So maybe you're like kind of being really careful with how you're approaching certain conversations because you don't want to scare them away, but at the same time you're like, I'm pulling my hair out, I can't deal with you being back and forth, where are we going? You have conversations but it's muddled, there's no clarity. So watch for those issues. especially when it comes to money, resources, travel, trips, where they've been. Mars rules your third house, so it can also be about phones. So there can be a sense of like things getting lost in texting and tones, you know? If you're not liking somebody's tone or if you're not hearing from them, pick up the phone and call them. Don't go back and forth over text message. Things can kind of be jumbled and unclear. By the same token, it might even be better just to sit down and talk to them in person, especially if you're feeling like somebody's kind of being evasive. The card that I get is the Nine of Wands, and you're sick of their shit. You're like, this is too much. Realize that Mars is at the end of its cycle, right? So if Mars is at the end of its cycle, there is this sense of like some of your partners spinning out, or some people who you're dealing with romantically or business-wise are crazy. This can be clients as well. And you're like, I don't know how much more of this I can take. Nine of Wands is like, I've had enough. This has been nothing but conflict. I feel like I don't know if I can take anymore. You might be telling yourself, one more relationship hiccup and I'm done. The Nine of Wands is also talking about kind of fighting an uphill battle. So instead of feeling like you need to be pushing, it might be a matter of being like, you know what, go your own way. You know, call me when you figure it out. I hope I'm still around, because now it's more about self-preservation 101, okay? Virgo, hang in there. For Libra, Libra rising, this is a Mars-Neptune conjunction in your natal 6th house, and that deals with your health, your pets. It deals with your daily routine. It also deals with secrets pertaining to relationships. The 6th house can deal with coworkers and just like your diet and your wellness in general. Accidents and delays are also associated with the 6th house. All right. So you have got Mars meeting with Neptune. Now, Neptune rules your 6th house. You've had Neptune there for a hot minute. You have seen where maybe your energy levels fluctuate. Maybe it's more difficult for you to kind of deal with a health issue. There's health issues that have strange symptoms. They come and go. Maybe you're tired. You have to adjust your schedule so you're not working 24/7. Maybe you've just been giving endlessly, right? Mars has been in your 6th house. There's been a lot of work. There's been a lot of sacrifice, but for a good cause. Now, Mars rules both your 7th of relationships and also your 2nd house. What's going on, Libra? Is your partners kind of spinning out? Are there some bad habits going on? Are they overeating, overworking, overdrinking, oversleeping? Is there something going on with one of your partners and they're having some kind of like work crisis? Are you trying to get more into a daily routine where you have more zen and a peace of mind? You're meditating more, you're kind of going with the flow. If you've been overworking, if you've been overdoing things, you've seen all of these energetic fluctuations and you're realizing it's time to let certain things go. Maybe it's time to let certain people who work for you go. Maybe it's time to let certain bad habits go. It's a wonderful time to be detoxing, purging, and clearing. I have a feeling though, because it is involving your 7th house Lord, your partners might be really stressed out about money, and they might be like, I don't have a job. What am I doing? Where am I going? And in turn, they're kind of showing you some like bad habits. There can also be some conflict with coworkers. You want to watch out. There can be some snakes in the grass at work and some people that you cannot trust. But know that that is getting ready to wrap up pretty soon when this conjunction is over. Let's see what the cards say. 4 of Coins. So this is like really trying to assess, what do I hold on to and what do I let go of? I got to be honest, Libra, the 6th house is 12 houses from your 7th. And the 2nd, Mars rules the 2nd, which is what do I have, what do I value? And the 7th is your relationships. Libra, are you thinking about letting some people go in your life? Are you thinking about letting go of a boyfriend, a girlfriend? Are you thinking about letting go of a friendship? Are you thinking about letting go of somebody who you used to work with or work for? Are you going to fire, your dog walker? Are you going to change doctors? Is there something like that going on? Really start looking at what you value. What are other people bringing to the table? Are they bringing you more headaches than you need? And is it time to kind of do a purge and release and let go? The 4 of Coins is saying the opposite. It's like, what am I holding on to? I'm holding on too tight. Are you holding on too tight to money? Holding on too tight to dietary preferences? Holding on too tight to bad habits, to jobs? What are you holding on too tight to that's disrupting the flow of letting something new in, right? We want to let new in. So don't hold on to things too tightly, especially if it's something you know that you need to release. All right, so we've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. This is going to affect you similar to Aries and Pisces because Mars is your chart ruler along with Pluto. And Scorpio, you have got Neptune meeting with Mars in your natal 5th house. So it's very dreamy, very creative, very romantic. You're feeling very passionate. You're feeling very romantic and sensual because it's coming into conjunction with Neptune, which also rules your natal 5th house. Now, traditionally in your astrological placements, Mars rules both your 5th and your 1st. Excuse me, it rules your 6th and your 1st. So Mars rules your 6th house of health and habits, daily routine, and it also rules your 1st house of the body. Well, this is kind of like counterproductive, Scorpio. On one hand, it's really great because it can really give you this feeling of like you're really jazzed about a creative project, you're setting up a romantic date night, you're having lots of fun and sex, and you're meeting people, and it's feeling good, and you're feeling inspired, and there's lots of good music and good wine. But by the same token, because this is the ruler of your 1st house, Mars, the body, and the ruler of your 6th house, daily routine and health, you have a tendency to overdo it, Scorpio. There can be over partying, over drinking. It can have a real effect on your body. There can be a sense of you needing to kind of dissolve partying habits because it's happening in your 5th house. There can also be a sense, because the 1st and the 6th deal with body and health and routines, with Mars, Neptune, and also Jupiter that has been hanging out in your 5th house, a lot of Scorpios are finding out, I'm pregnant, I can't party anymore, I need a detox, I need to get healthy, or I'm trying to get back on track with my business or a creative project, I need to be healthy, I need a routine, so that can be coming up for you as well. This eclipse is a doozy for you, Scorpio. I mean, the South Node eclipse, either on your sun, moon, or rising, is purging and disconnecting from bad habits. And when we look at the South Node, it's similar to like a decapitated, body. So it's like a body with no head. So we feel like we're losing our head. We may feel disconnected from our body. It's very spiritual, but I think a lot of Scorpio, especially Scorpio risings, will be drinking, partying, acting out, being really emotional, and leaning into some bad habits because of drama that's going on with their love life, or they're spinning out because they're going through a breakup, or maybe they're drinking a little bit more wine than usual because they're feeling a little under the weather. I know you guys want to party, but I would say try to take it easy and realize that Mars is really saying it's time to really focus on your health and get into a regular routine. You may feel that this Mars-Neptune transit is like going out with a bang. So if you want to, drink all the stuff, eat all the stuff, do everything, that's fine. But what's going to happen is you're going to realize after that you need to get really serious about your health goals. Ouch. 3 of Swords. So this tells me that this is more so you're doing this because there's an emotional purge, your heart's broken for some reason, you're going through some kind of disappointment. There is a sense of you feeling like maybe something happened and you don't know how to move on. You've been disappointed or broken up with, or somebody deceived you. Something happened that really kind of hurt your heart. And I would say don't act out. Like that's not going to fix things. It's kind of like putting a bandage on a broken arm. So really get to the core of what's happening and why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, and realize that if you take charge of your body, your health, and your routine, you can mend. Scorpio is about toxins. I can say this. I'm very much a Scorpio. You don't want to put fuel on the fire, right? Like you don't want to bring in more toxins to a situation when you're going through a process of needing to detox, specifically the heart space. So if there's anything that's kind of coming up that's uncomfortable, ugly, venomous right now, don't add more fuel to the flames. Sending you lots of good vibes. Sag and Sag rising. This is a Mars-Neptune conjunction happening in your natal 4th house. So that's your home, your family, your domestic zone, where you were born, your country of origin. And Mars rules your 5th house, which deals with your heart space, creativity, children, and dating, and also your 12th house, which is hidden. Sag, I have a feeling there is a sense of, number one, aimlessly kind of searching for a place or a person that feels like home. Mars Neptune is like searching, searching, searching. Where is home? Where do I come from? Where do I belong? Where is my family? It can have you very blue. You can be emotional. You can be sensitive. There's a lot of reminiscing and reflecting on the past of woulda, coulda, shoulda. What would have happened if that relationship worked out? What would have happened if I stayed with that person? What would have happened if I never left that city? It's normal to reflect when you're having conjunctions in the 4th house, but I would say we don't want to stay there too long. You can't look in the rearview mirror. You have to keep moving forward. Now that Jupiter's moving into your 5th house, it's giving you an opportunity for new love. Maybe you're getting back in the dating scene. Maybe you're falling in love with a passion project. I know Mars also rules your natal 12th house. You're having an eclipse there. So I think you're going to have a dream about somebody or something from the past that was very painful. I think you're going to have something that might trigger you within your family or your home, or something that just reminds you of some kind of trauma from the past. It can be like an old boyfriend. It can be an old business partner, somebody who really hurt you and kind of closed you off maybe to love. Now, this can come through your physical home space, or it can just be a sense of you reminiscing on the past, having a dream, waking up going, oh my God, I thought I cleared all of that out. Why is this coming back? Be present with your emotions, be gentle with yourself, realize that the Mars-Neptune is also dissolving the past for you. It's letting it go. You might need a nice bubble bath or a good cry to kind of clear that out. There can also be a sense of like home matters dissolving. Be very careful. There can be sudden unexpected leaks, plumbing problems, problems with pools, toilets overflowing. This is the Neptune energy in your 4th, but I think that this is actually more so connected to emotions that you have not dealt with, things that you are not clearing out. So if you start seeing some of these issues in your home, know that it's happening because you're not doing your due diligence to clear it out of your subconscious. Past life regression, meditation, healing, soaks, all of these things can be very helpful in easing all of that stuff out of your subconscious, out of your space. We got 7 of coins again. So what's going on? Are you hanging out with Virgo? I'm thinking that there is a sense of you going through something where, was it Virgo who got this? I don't know, Mercury retrograde. You guys have to let me know. It was one of the signs. You're thinking to yourself like, are things going to pan out okay? Are things going to be all right? Is this a good investment? Be mindful and really looking at your budget if you're potentially getting over budget when it comes to a home-related situation. Somebody might quote, hey, it's going to cost this much to, you know, fix your doorknob, and then you get, you know, the bill and you're like, oh my gosh, that's 3 times what the handyman said it was going to be. And also, how much money are you spending on your cost of living? Where you're living? Are you making a good investment? Are you sick of throwing money away on rent? Are you focused more on saving? Are you trying to save for a new home? Are you thinking long-term about making changes or additions to your home? Some of you guys want to get pools. Some of you guys are also wanting to redo kitchens, or you're wanting to redo plumbing, or there is a sense of you wanting to spend money in going back home. Could you save money in going back home, living with family, or being in a much more affordable space? So these are all things that you should be asking yourself right now. Don't get hung up in the past. It's going to be something that is going to get you this week if you're not careful, Sag. Cap and Cap rising, what's going on? You've got Mars, Neptune meeting in your natal 3rd house. Now, for you, Mars rules your 4th house of home and also friendships. Capricorn, are you moving? Are you afraid? A lot of Cap risings are visiting family right now, or they're living with family, or they've moved back home. And they're deciding, like, do I really want to go back? I have a good friend of mine who's a Cap rising, and this is what's going on. He went to visit his family in another country, and he's like, my roommates and everybody's going crazy. I don't know if I want to move back there. So because this conjunction is happening in your 3rd house, it's really hard to put things into words, right? Mars in the 3rd should be like out with it, but it's in Neptune. It's in Pisces, conjunct Neptune. So you're like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know how to express how I'm feeling. I can't even find the words. I just need a good cry, right? And Capricorns, you guys generally, you don't cry. If you do, it's like ugly crying in a closet at work somewhere. My point is that if it's hard for you to find the words to how you're feeling, when in doubt, journal. 3rd house is writing, going for a walk, going on a bike ride. It might be good to pick up a book on meditation or anything in relation to like self-help, especially podcasts can be really interesting for you. You may feel inclined to suddenly make a move. You're like, no, this isn't cutting it anymore. I need to go to another neighborhood. You may also intuitively feel like it's time for you to go on a road trip. You might be drawn to coastal cities or being around water. Now Mars rules, like I said, your 4th and your 11th. So I feel like you're going to start talking to your friends about, you know, if you're going to move, feeling areas out, what would be nice. Maybe you're just getting to know your neighborhood more so if you have recently moved and you're trying to kind of network with people and make new friends. Regardless, there can be lots of getting lost in translation. Contracts are messy, signing leases and buying cars and stuff. I would not do it under this influence. It could end up being a situation where something is overlooked, details are overlooked, and I would just really focus on feeling things out before you communicate, sitting with something for a period of time before you make a decision. Once Mars and Jupiter move into Aries here pretty soon, you're quickly going to probably make a move. You're going to fly home, you're going to sign a new lease, you're going to buy a new house or an apartment. So let's wait until after this energy kind of passes, so that way you can make these decisions better. Be focused more on talking about goals and like talking to people about neighborhoods that they would recommend, cars they would recommend, new laptops they would recommend. You may also be falling in love with a foreign language. That's something else that can be happening. And there's like a real interest in like learning how to speak something different as well. It's a lot. Third house is kind of like a hodgepodge of things, you know? All right, so we have the star seed. So I see this as kind of like the magician card, and it's talking about what you're manifesting and bringing into reality. I also feel like it's about as above, so below. So that Pisces energy being so strong in your 3rd house, sextiling your 5th house where this Taurus energy is. Maybe you're feeling very romantic. You're feeling like you need to have fun. You're wanting to participate in new hobbies. You're wanting to talk to people romantically and go back and forth. So pay attention to what you're manifesting, what you're thinking about, what you're saying, what you're writing and speaking into existence, because everything is starting to speed up right now, and you're going to start to see a major shift in some of these intentions. Manifestation journaling is like so good for Capricorn, because if you're writing it every day, you might start to see some of these things appear. All right. Now we've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. We have got Mars and Neptune meeting in your natal 2nd house. And it's like, where did my money go? A lot of Aquariuses and Aquarius risings have been telling me all about their spending habits, or the fact that they left a $100 bill in their pocket and then had their clothes dry cleaned and it's gone. This is very Mars, Neptune in the 2nd. Money going through the washing machine, losing stuff, not understanding, you know, a budget, kind of just like blowing through cash, especially when it comes to Neptune related things. So it can be things like traveling, bar tabs, pool toys, cannabis habits, you know, fishing gear, you name it. Like all of that stuff can be stuff that you're spending money on right now. Mars in the 2nd is going to kind of burn a hole in your pocket, and Neptune doesn't really know where it's going. So there's a hole in the bucket, right? You're just feeling like you're maybe like bleeding cash right now. Mars rules your 3rd house of communication, cars, and travel, sometimes siblings, and your 10th house also, which deals with your career. So I feel like some of you guys maybe are having to invest money in a business to start something up, and you have to spend money to make money. Some of you guys are also having to talk to siblings about, you know, money that you're spending on a parent, or coming up with a budget or a way of handling a parent's resources. And you're like, I can't pay for this all the time. I need your help. The fact that the 3rd and the 10th house lord are landing in the 2nd, it makes me feel inclined to tell you, like, be mindful of your spending habits, because there can be some stuff that comes up where you're suddenly having to like spend on a vehicle and you didn't see it coming, and you're like, oh, I just spent all this money on something else. I don't have money for a new transmission. It can kind of come out of the blue, especially when this ingress moves into your 3rd house, actually. So when Mars and Jupiter move into your 3rd house, you suddenly have to go on a trip. There's something with a car. You need something new maybe, and you're like, I spent a ton of money on stuff. What was I doing for the last month? I was eating out every day, and that kind of stuff. You might be buying a lot of art too. That's the other way that I could see this, is that you're buying a lot of art. And if you are, that's fine, but make sure you're doing it for something that's going to last. It's going to be long-term. It's going to be an investment. It's not like paintings of like dogs and other like weird shit that Aquarius is like. 8 of Cups. So this is talking about walking away from bad habits, walking away from bad spending habits, leaving something behind. You might have overlooked something you were supposed to pay for. You might be overlooking something and you're like, you know what, I'm not going back to that anymore. I can't keep doing it. It could be a bad habit, something that you keep buying, right? You just can't stop buying the ice cream. You can't stop buying or keeping all the subscriptions. Maybe you're hoarding something and you didn't realize. Might be a good exercise for you to sit down and look at all your excess expenses, what you're spending on going out to eat, what you're spending on all of your subscriptions, what you're spending on just snacks, screens, things like that. And you're like, I didn't realize I spent this much. Look at your statements and look at the breakdown and how much money is going to these. Because to me, it seems like you're going to be like, I'm not going back to that anymore. Like this is a bad habit. I have to stop doing this. So sending you lots of good vibes, Aquarius. Hopefully you're able to clear that up. And last but not least, we've got Pisces. This is significant because it's happening in your sign, Pisces. So it's happening for Pisces risings in your first house. Mars is about motivation. Neptune is lost in translation. It's like it doesn't know which end is up. It's about illusions. You're going to have lots of fluctuating energy levels is the feeling that I'm getting. You're going to have up days and you're going to have days where you're like, I need to be, horizontal on a couch watching Netflix with my favorite face mask on. I would advise you to be getting foot reflexology, getting massages, really making sure that you're eating food and stuff that's going to be helping you sustain your energy, getting lots of iron because you've got Jupiter that's hanging out in your second house. There is going to be lots of changes in your energy levels depending on what you're eating, because Jupiter is also one of your chart rulers. So we want to be eating food that's going to keep us warm, keep us totally nourished and like really feeling the burn. So maybe like spicy foods, warmer foods, hot liquids, maybe hot herbs, just to kind of get things moving and shaking. If you're feeling under the weather, that can happen as well with Mars conjunct Neptune. The fluctuating energy levels can be because you got sick, you have a virus, you have a headache, maybe you have a fever, right? These are things you want to watch for. Soak your feet, right? Get your foot massaged. Do something that's going to detox and pull stuff physically out of the feet. I like those like little foot pads that you can put that you can sleep in, and then you peel them off, and in the morning you're like, look at all the stuff that came out of my feet. Gross, but that's the kind of stuff that you guys could or should be doing. Heavy metal cleanses could be really helpful for you right now as well. I'm not like a health expert. I just know the body and how the body relates to some of these transits. Now, when in doubt, if you're feeling super out of it, or if you're feeling like your energy levels are all over the place, hop in a pool, take a bath, stay hydrated, maybe consider doing some meditation to kind of ground you out. Mars rules your second house of income, money, resources, self-esteem, and food. It also rules your ninth house, which deals with travel and philosophy. So are you adapting because you're in a new time zone, right? Are you adapting because you're in a place where you don't have the usual food that you're used to eating? Your body's feeling very different because you're not used to having your routine. Are you feeling like you suddenly need to make a move and make an investment that allows you to be able to buy plane tickets and go somewhere, and it's kind of like possibly breaking the bank? As Mars moves through your sign and then into the second house, you're a bit of a spender. There's going to be a spending spree going on, and I would say make sure that you've looked at all the details. Mercury is retrograde. These mutable squares are going to be harder for you as well because of the conjunction, because it's a hard conjunction that's happening in your sign. So there can be a sense of like being like, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going there fast. I need to do it now. Yes, we want to listen to our intuition, but maybe let's wait until Mars changes signs and you'll know when it's time to make the investment, when it's time to make the purchase, when it's time to buy the tickets, because there can be a sense of spending a lot more than you really needed to. Or maybe you're dealing with a foreign currency and you're trying to understand like, well, what should it cost, right? The card that I get is Ten of Crystals, which is interesting because it's actually talking about abundance. It's talking about wealth. Long-term moves that you're making when it comes to your career. Maybe your beliefs revolving around money are changing and you're like, I got to spend it. I got to put it out there, right? Money is it's an energy. It's something that should be in motion. If we're holding on to it too much, we're not going to allow it to come in. If we're spending it too much, we're not going to be able to maintain. But maybe your philosophy around money is changing. Maybe maybe you're like, you know what, I earned this. I'm going to buy myself the first class ticket. I am going to take the course. I'm going to invest in my education. I'm going to go on the dream vacation. And you're thinking about long-term goals with your money and your resources. So maybe you're making long-term plans with your money, and you're thinking about how that can actually, you know, the decisions you're making now pave the way for the future wealth that you will be acquiring. So hopefully you receive that. 10 of Coins is about long-term generational wealth. Wowzers. Quite the week. Hopefully you guys do well. Let me know, where are you experiencing this Mars-Neptune conjunction in your chart? How is it feeling? Are you feeling floating a little bit out of your body? You can catch me this Saturday live at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern on my channel. We're going to be doing live tarot readings on the channel this week. So if you guys missed this last Saturday, no worries. You can get in and get a reading. It might be especially helpful because we're in the eclipse week, so there's going to be a lot going on. It's by donation based, so I'll post the link later this week so you guys can see that. And if you'd like to pop in and get a reading and make a donation, you may do so. It's a great way to get a sample of my reading style. It's a great way to also learn more about either reading tarot or astrology, because I alternate every week. But also, if you want to get like a vibe for how I do readings, and get in earlier, because usually I'm booked anywhere from 6 to 10 weeks at a time. So right now I'm booking now going into July pretty soon. So if you don't want to wait, you want to get in with me, then you can reserve that usually the day of and get in the queue. Do consider signing up for my newsletter. Please check out my website if you would like to do that, like I said. And we are going to be releasing a new podcast tomorrow on Monday on the Midheaven Podcast. So make sure that you check that out. It's with myself and Mike the Peace Stealer. And we have a new episode that's coming out. I got videos that are going to be out this week. I'll probably talk more about Mars, Neptune, and the Sun, Mercury, Cazimi. So I look forward to that. Hopefully it's a good week ahead for you guys. You know, take cover the next 2 days with this eclipse. Be present with the emotions and be aware of what you believe in, what you're manifesting, and what you are fighting for. Until next time, I'll see all of you guys very soon. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.